Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another impromptu video. I hope you're all doing well. I hope everybody has got through their Christmas time all in one piece and had a relatively serene time of it all. I did. I had a nice, quiet Christmas, just exactly the way I like it. Was in touch with some family members and this, that, and the other, but principally I kind of just got on with normal stuff. And also kept my eye on the so-called fallout from the topic I addressed on my last video, which was this so-called final experiment that isn't final, nor is it an experiment, whereby a few people went on a trip paid for by, don't know, to a place allegedly called Antarctica, which only as a place with that name can possibly exist on a globe model. So you have to presuppose a globe in the first place to then say you're going on an Antarctica trip. That includes the flat earthers that went there as well. They also presuppose the ball by calling it a trip to Antarctica, right? I'm not too sure why people aren't getting it. Yeah. Oh, there are a few in the community that do get it, by the way. You know, don't get me wrong, there are. I'm not the only one who's seen through the bullshit, right? I'm not going to be welcoming anyone home back in the community. I mean, they're back now, but, as has been suggested by some, to welcome them back as heroes or to be thankful we have these people who question things for the truth and all that. What absolute nonsense. I've never heard so much jibber-jabber in all my life. Pass me a freaking bucket, please, now. Right? Nobody talks on my behalf, thank you very much. Right? So if people want to go and bugger off and do some sort of bullshit experiment, as they call it, it's not an experiment, right? And then think that they're talking on behalf of a vast number of people worldwide, then I'm afraid they're deluded. Absolutely deluded. Any of those people who took part there and went on this expedition trip, whatever you want to call it, right? If they think that somehow were flying the flat earth flag, no, they were not. Maybe their followers tell them that on their YouTube channels, but they do not. Maybe they think they're some sort of big representative because they're the ones always getting invited onto prominent-ish podcasts on YouTube. No, that doesn't make you my representative. Ever. I'll represent myself, thank you very much. And it seems I'm glad that I do, because when I hear the music coming out of these people's mouths and how they explain themselves, the double speak, the contradiction, it's bewildering. Actually, I'm not too sure it is, if that's a tactic, right? But I'm sure I'm not, well, I know I'm not the only one that's seeing through that veil right now and going, there's something not right here, right? I'm not going to say what it is because I don't know. But, to suggest that because you see a light in the sky for 24 hours and then it's a done deal and talking and also talking on behalf of all flat earthers like we're all wrong kind of thing. First of all, I never said go anywhere. Secondly, I never said I subscribe to the model that allegedly has failed through these observations. Yet everybody else seems to think that all flat earthers think that. I wonder why that is. Well, because certain flat earthers who've gone out there representing all of us have given everybody else the opinion that that's what we all think. When actually, no. Absolutely not. There are plenty of flat earthers who, for example, know damn well that the Gleason's map is a globe projection. Right? And so it matters not whether you might debunk that model, if you want to call it that, or that representation of the Earth, because it's a globe projection. But that doesn't mean to say the rest of us in the flat Earth community hang our hats on that globe, that azimuthal equidistant Gleason's map. We do not. Yeah, I can see, I go around and have a little look I have done recently online. There are people literally almost crying about it, trying their best to disprove and show how it could possibly work on that model and all the rest of it. I'll call it a model. I know it isn't, right? But, and it's just like I'm watching it thinking, who cares what people have witnessed in the sky? It's totally irrelevant. But there are people in meltdown at the moment in the flat earth community. Never mind the idiots who are the globe proponents who suggest that this is a final kind of decisive finding that kills off any notion of a flat earth. Well, that's just as deluded and stupid and pathetic and embarrassing, because it was a false dichotomy right from the start. If you see, you're going to Antarctica, if you see a 24-hour sun, therefore a globe. If no 24-hour sun, then flat. No. None of that's right. It's all nonsense. But the reaction to it by people who have been in this whole line of research way longer than me, and who are literally melting down on live podcasts, arguing to each other, people's egos getting in the way of each other. They're stumbling over their own egos, stumbling over each other's egos. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. I'm not even going to start naming them because it would take me 15 minutes to get through all the names. Right? But it is absolutely embarrassing. Really is embarrassing. These people who went there to wherever they went, and who cares? Again, who cares? Right? They don't represent me. They don't talk for me. And they damn well better not give that impression to everybody else who they come across, that they do somehow talk on behalf of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of others. Because they do not. Absolutely not. And no, I will not be welcomed, or next time I communicate with any of them, treating them like they're heroes of some sort. What the hell? What for? To discredit others because people think that they're some sort of representative of fellow flat earthers around the world? No, absolutely not. Definitely not. I know Earth is flat. I don't need to travel anywhere and go on, bounce around on people's podcasts, not even getting to the point properly and actually arguing the real points and issues, but veering off all the time and talking about other nonsense, right? Confusing your flock of people who follow you in the process, right? And there's a few people doing that. So if you're watching, you know exactly who you are, right? It's absolutely embarrassing. Some people who are in the community who I used to not look up to, but respect and use as a bit of a guide in terms of leadership for me to be able to then figure out a way also of researching moving forward and stuff like that, right? That's all dead and gone now for me. The disappointment levels for me are towards these people are just huge. But then again, it's my fault for laying such expectations on them in the first place. Why do I even bother? Just stick to your own research, do your own thing, and run it past friends who are of a similar ilk, and do it like that. Like we did a few years ago when myself and a few others didn't get too involved in all this online nonsense, right? With these particular people, I mean. What on earth they were thinking. And honestly, I've had people that I've had to scrub their comments from my video, coming out with stuff that they've clearly think is right, which is that all flat earthers think the way that these people who went down to Antarctica, allegedly down and allegedly Antarctica, that they are our representatives. So we all think like that. When you then also hear, the narrative, this is the most disturbing bit, and I touched on it earlier, the narrative coming from within the flat earth community by some people, that's the bit that I find absolutely staggering. Well, then if this is upsetting you in terms of the findings, then you can't be a flat earther, because it means you don't know your stuff. Simple as that. People who are desperately putting out videos now to try and claim that this model could work, even if we use this model, right? This could work with reflections and with this and with that. Stuff, by the way, that's been done 10 years ago by other people, right? But it's now being recycled and put out there as if it's new findings from new people who have turned up, who have appeared from nowhere in the community, with funky names and coming out with ideas and things to put to us as to how it still could work on a Gleason's map. Like the rest of us all just follow that Gleason's map. No, we don't. We don't. We know the Earth is measured flat. We don't believe in ice walls. We've never seen it. I've never seen a 60,000 mile ice wall. And by the way, why would it be 60,000 miles? I've never seen this logbook from Cook, allegedly, that allegedly exists. You know, and it took him over 4 years because he'd sailed round it a few times and whatever, blah, proving an ice wall. Where is that? I never heard about that ever. I don't recall seeing it ever when I went to Whitby a few times, where he sailed from, allegedly, to find a new lands out in the Pacific. You know? All that narrative is all nonsense anyway, by the way. It's all thrown in there to deceive us, like Admiral Byrd and like Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl and sending nuclear warheads up to see how high the firmament is. What absolute nonsense. Total nonsense. Speculative bullshit. Nonsense. I bought into it when I first got into all of this because I was hearing people of authority within the community, at least, saying this sort of stuff. Now I look back and I think, oh my God, I actually blush a little bit because it's ridiculous. You know? And then when it comes down to actually talking about flat Earth and the absolute irrefutable proofs that we have that support not a flat Earth theory, a flat Earth fact, right? They don't go there. These people, too busy, they might touch on it, but then they'll talk about other stuff. Speculating on this, speculating on that, speculating on the other, making themselves look a laughing stock to non-flat earthers, who then in turn think we're all like that because they act like they do represent us all, which they do not, and that's my gripe. Very long-winded way of putting it to you, but that is my gripe. You've got people going out there thinking they represent us all, they make themselves look like fools. The people who they make themselves look like fools to, they think we're all like that because they're our reps. No. Gets me very, very angry. You know, if you're going to have representatives representing any community, what the hell are we doing with these guys? Who's making these decisions in the first place? How are they even weaseling their way to the forefront to allegedly represent anything in the first place? How are they managing this? What's going on here? Is it a closed shop somewhere where they actually all get on? Just like the real world. Everyone thinks China and America and Britain and Russia and all them don't get on. They bloody well do, because their leaders all answer to the same masters. It's just on ground level and in the media, it's sold to the general public like they're all always at loggerheads. They're not. Well, it seems like that's the same thing in the community with globeheads and flat earthers and all the rest of it. They seem to be getting on fine and getting on each other's podcasts, but they're saying the wrong things and they've got the wrong people saying it as well. It's nonsense. And so we're never going to make inroads if that was the aim. For me, originally, it was just to gain knowledge around the topic, and it's been very enlightening, and I'm very glad that I do know a few things, and it comes very easy to me to understand that. Elevation angle measurements and stuff like that. That's not difficult to grasp, unless you're letting all your indoctrination get in the way, or you're sponsored by someone to make sure that people can't spread their messages that are true. You know? I hope this video makes sense when I look at it back. But it really, really makes me angry that we have these ego-driven planks who think they're it, talking on our behalf, my behalf. Who do you think you are? All of yous. Seriously. Those guys I'm on about specifically. I know plenty in the community of good, solid, humble people who want to spread the message, plant a seed, don't need people put up on pedestals, don't need to hero worship anybody, just crack on, right? And pass, they pass the message out on a daily basis in general conversation, here, there, and everywhere, wherever the opportunity comes. But this nonsense, for the sake of being famous and whatever the motives are, God knows, it is ridiculous. Anyway, on that note, Tuesday the 28th of January, the Flat Earth Social in Ferndown at the Bridge House Hotel, 7 o'clock kickoff. I will be there to discuss the old world, specifically the Victorian time, the 1800s, because I think that's when it all starts coming into action, everything that we know today, and the Victorian Restoration, so-called, and all the rest of it. I'll be there to talk about that. So I look forward to that, and I'll see you all there, I hope. Okay, so take it easy, and I'll see you all soon. Some of you sooner. Until then, ta-ta for now.